Good afternoon, Paint Girly here. I'm just sitting in my craft space and I was working on some journals and I remembered a project that I had prepared some paper for, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to pop on and record this, see how it goes. I don't really have anything planned. I'm just going to wing it. Angel Wing Journal, and I'm going to wing it. There is a gal on YouTube by the name of Gi Kerr, and I'm going to write that down for you because sometimes when I listen to some gals on YouTube, I have a hard time understanding what they're saying. So I'm going to write this down so you can see it. Gi Kerr, G-I, I'm assuming that's how she says it, Gi Kerr, K-E-R-R. I believe she lives in Portugal. She's very soft-spoken, and her projects and the things that she does are amazing. Absolutely amazing. You have to check her out. So one of the projects she does, or one of the items that she did a video of and showed how it looked finished, was what she called an angel wing notebook. And they're just beautiful. They're just absolutely beautiful. And I am coming into craft season for me and trying to get some thoughts organized and some inventory together for the shows I have coming up. And I thought between those shows and the co-ops that I'm involved with, a book like her Angel Wing book might be something that folks would be interested in purchasing. And I think it would be fun to try to make one. So I have no idea how she made hers. But just by looking at her finished product, I'm going to do my version of it. So I just thought I'd pop on my camera and have at it. So what I did was I have a cameo, a silhouette cameo, which I barely know how to use. I don't play around with it much or use it much. But what I did was I created this wing shape, and then I cut out some cardstock in pieces that I thought would be a nice cover and back for the book. And you can see that my wings right here, you know, it looks like my autofocus is on and I'm not sure how to get that off. So I hope that's not annoying for you. But there's a rough spot here, so I'll have to sand that. And when she opened her book, her pages, her wings were very close together like this. So I was thinking about trimming mine, but maybe I'll just leave them like this and see how it goes. Now this will have 2 rings. I just put my pages together with the covers that I want. This one I don't have the cover doubled. It's just like a 65-pound cardstock, just from a paper pack. But some of them I'm thinking about gluing 2 together to make the cover a little more sturdy. Her covers didn't have too much design on them. See, like this is a musical notes, which I think would be great, but it's kind of gaudy. So I'm thinking I might gesso that up and then decorate it. But I think I put, let's just see. Let's see. Maybe a dozen pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This one has 11. Maybe I missed one. So it's got 10 to 12 pages. And I have to be careful with these nails. I always forget when I get my nails painted red, I scratch it off on paper. So I want to treat these pages. I want to either stain them, and I've said before on other videos that I've done, drives me crazy to tea dye things. I mean, I enjoy looking at them, but I just hate doing it. It just seems like it takes forever for me to do it. And I was thinking about trying to live stream this, but I'm still so nervous. I don't have anybody to be a monitor for me. And I might try a coloring video a little later, but I just figured I would record this and see how it goes, and then I'll just upload it. So I've got several here, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little books that I'll make. Pink. This has a cute little pink flower on it. I don't even remember the paper pad. I should have pulled them out, but I didn't. This has a cute little bird. This is like a marble design, which kind of reminds me of like maybe, you know, a Grecian kind of look. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to tackle one at a time, see how it goes, and then I can do the other one. So I'm like making my prototype. And I really wish I could figure out how to get this auto. I guess I'm recording. My timer's going off, so I guess I'm recording. Okay, everything else looks okay. I'm going to try to not wiggle around too much. So I think I'm going to work on a pink one, or one where I want pink pages. And I'm trying to think of what I want to decorate with and what I have available to me that I can grab fairly quickly while I'm recording. So maybe I'll do the all pink. And I probably would want this a little more muted as well. These little binder rings, I guess they call them, are just small ones. And these are a Tim Holtz item. Joann Fabrics has them on sale right now. So I picked up another package of those. My wing measures 7 1/4 from top to the point of the wing, and then across here 4 inches. So 7 1/4 by 4 inches. So it's not huge. I apologize for that phone ringing. So for right this second, I'm going to set my pages aside, and I'm going to hopefully grab my gesso, because I think I want to gesso these wings as well, because I don't want them to be, it is a light pink, but I want it to be a little more muted. So I'm going to grab my gesso. And I should have gotten clean water, which I did not do. I just have a little stack of these little bubble trays you can see from different projects, and I just stack them up, and when they're all dirty, I take them to the sink and clean them off. I am not big on cleaning up. It's a thing I do last, and only when I have to do it. Now, I was using some of my bigger brushes for pumpkin projects, so I don't want to get any orange on my wings. So I'm going to get a new brush, put it in some water. I've got a paper towel here. And I was spattering. Of course, I should know better. So I was painting gourds, and I spattered my paint, thinking I had it under control. You ought to see my computer screen. I've got paint spattered everywhere. Okay, so just dampen my brush, and I'm using this Dowler and Roni Simply Acrylic Gesso. I'm not an expert on gesso. I have no idea what's good and what's not good. This seems to work okay for me, so I'm just painting this on. Now this, I do not have a double, so I'm not going to make this a little sturdier than it is. This is just your 65-pound cardstock from a paper pad. And I got a little fuzzy there. Maybe that'll brush out. And I'm going to do both sides. And then I'll be decorating this as I work through the project. I'm trying to remember how Gi's, because I watched it a couple of days ago. And she had a little message on the front of both of hers. I guess I need to move up and be in frame a little better. And she decorated with lace material. She stitched her notebooks. So, I mean, she made a little pocket. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the pocket. She made a little pocket. You have to go see her. Watch her videos. She's unbelievable, really and truly. I don't hear very well, so I have to really crank up the sound. And she'll even say, you know, that she speaks very quietly, but boy, I am like captivated when I watch some of the things she creates. And she does have an Etsy shop, but when I have gone there, there's not been anything in it. So I have a feeling that when she has time and she gets stuff in her Etsy shop, this stuff goes fast. All right, so I'm just brushing that on to just kind of dull down that pink. Although it's not a real bright pink, but still dulling that, want that dulled down a little bit. So I'm going to do that first, and I will be inking my edges. You may not want to do that because you may be someone who likes a brighter project. But I do like that vintage antiqued look. So that's what I'm going to do. Now this is really curling up. But I think once that dries, that's going to straighten out for me. And I'm hoping once I decorate it, you know, I may have to, what if I have any other pink? I may have to double this up anyway. Let's see what else I have here. I don't care for that pink at all. Well, that's pretty. I can always cut more wings. Well, there's a piece. Yeah, let's do this. I have another one here that's got the pink wings on the back. I think I'm going to steal those from this one. I have arthritis in my hands, and sometimes just doing this little tiny, taking those little tiny clips apart are difficult. I need to sand this one a little bit here. And when I sand the paper, I'm just using not a real rough emery board. I mean, you could use what you have, but some of those smaller ones are really rough. This one, not so much. I think this one's more like for acrylic nails. Just trying to, I don't think a pair of scissors would take care of it. And I probably could wrap a little piece of lace or another piece of paper around there, but just give it a quick little sand at the outset. And you know what? I shouldn't do that now while this is still a little damp, because that'll make my paper like get not good. Not good. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to look at this. I got one gal that I watch. She has trouble with her cat all over her workstation. She gets cat hair everywhere. Mine's my own hair. It just keeps falling out. So you could do this if you didn't want it to be totally covered in the gesso. You could do a pattern. You know, like you could do a couple of brush strokes to the side and then up this way or around the side. And that would show up a little bit for you, but I'm covering the whole thing. Of course, let's remember, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going for it. Just winging it, kids. Just winging it. And then I am going to hit this with my heat gun. And I'm going to need a little more gesso because I want to continue on. And that was too much gesso to put out. I either never get enough out or a little too much. And then my idea is, rather than tea dye these pages or coffee stain them, I have been spraying them either with some diluted acrylic paint or some alcohol ink spray, or Tim Holtz has some dilution sprays, but I mostly have real wild colors in those products. So I took a little spray bottle. I picked up a couple of, probably at the dollar store, a couple of little spray bottles that I can put some water in, and then whatever color paint I want. And this is a baby pink color, mostly water and some acrylic paint, and then you just shake that up and I spray it on the paper. And I was working on some mermaid journals, and I have some of those pages here. Hopefully you can see it. I have a lot of lights on right now, so I don't know if that's like whiting out and you can't really see it. But this was just plain white paper, like copier paper for your printer. And I sprayed it with this pink concoction, all different patterns. And then I came back and dripped some gold alcohol ink on it. I really like the way it turned out. So I was thinking that's what I would do for these wings. It just looks like a pink cloud or pink cotton candy. So that's the idea. So I'm going to take my heat gun and just dry these up a little bit. Now you could edge these. I'm going to edge them in Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz because that's one of my favorites. That's what I'm most comfortable with. I probably didn't have to gesso both sides because I am thinking about gluing these together. So it makes a more sturdy cover for me. And actually, in hindsight, next time I get out my Cameo, I think I'll cut a couple of more, but maybe I'll cut a couple of wings out of some chipboard. I don't know, I always say chipboard, and sandwich that in between the two covers, which would even make that even nicer for a cover. Now, I guess I could use tape, but I'm going to go ahead and use my glue. And I have two different kinds of glue. Oops, I just banged the camera. Sorry. If you could see my workstation, I know I keep saying that, but boy. I keep my glue in these little needle nose applicators because I love to be able to get just a thin bead of glue. So one of them is Mod Podge, and one of them is, I think it's called Crystal Glue. And there's not much wiggle time with the Crystal Glue. Let's see if I can tell which one. I think this one is the Crystal Glue, and this is the Mod Podge. For some reason. Doesn't matter. They both work very well. The crystal glue, you don't have too much wiggle room time. You know, it dries pretty quickly and adheres very well. The Mod Podge I like for when I'm gluing things together, like in a sandwich, or putting an application down on another sheet of paper. I don't like using the Mod Podge for a top coat sealer. Some people are successful with it. Maybe it's the area that they live. I'm in South Jersey, so I mean, it should be okay here, but I've used it on the outside of some projects and it doesn't seem to dry completely ever. And I've put the items on my windowsill and then it sticks to the paint. So I'm a little hesitant to always use it as an outside sealer. I use other things for that. And but I do like it as a glue. So I'm going to want to line this up as best I can. Of course, I see a little spots that I've probably picked up on my work surface, although I did wipe that down. So I'm just going to glue these. I'm going to figure out where my camera is. Okay. And line up my holes so they match, you know, very well. Let's see if I can. I made sure that I flipped my pieces on my design board when I cut them so that I would have wings that were going the right way and have sets of them. So I'm just going to run a thin bead of glue, at least that's the plan, around the edge of these wings. And of course it feels like I've got, even though I had this capped, I think that's coming out today. Let's use this other one. I want to go like that. Okay. And I don't want to get a lot of excess because I don't want a lot squishing out. I'm going to reinforce though around those holes where the rings are going to go. That's the other thing that G did. She cut a piece of paper and added to the wings there to give extra support as you're opening your book. I'm back too far. More glue. Now, if you had some really nice reinforcement circles, you could use those too. I have some that Tim Holtz puts out, and I'm sure I could find them. I have an idea of where they are, but they're more designed for like, if I remember correctly, like travel kind of images around the little circle. I don't really want that. Of course, you could make the argument that you do travel. If you have wings, you can travel. But I think you understand what I'm saying. Now, the other thing is too, when I designed this, my circles are not real round. They're kind of on an oval. So I don't have a punch that would match that. But G just took a sheet of treated paper that she had already stained and cut out little strips and wrapped it around here. And they were tea dyed and inked, you know, to match her wing. And just slipped that on. So I may do that. I probably should do that sooner rather than later. So then I'm going to take my Distress ink pad Vintage Photo. You could use any color that you're working with. Like if you're going to do a blue one, you may want to do a blue edge. You could do pink on this pink. And I should get my, I don't know what I did with that. Let's just use this. So I keep my surface fairly stain-free. I tend to just go on the edge. And that is the technical term, just so you know. But you really should come from the outside edge in, so you get a nice blended edge with your inking. And then you can do this, take this as dark or as light as you like. Well, we are popular today. So I'm just really kind of spinning it around, doing my edges, leaving the center a little more untouched, at least at this point. So it almost has like a glow in the center. I'm not sure if I like that. I may hit that just a little bit to grunge that up a little bit. And do my second wing. The only problem with this process is if you're making more than one, like say you wanted to make them for all your nieces and nephews at Christmas time, and you have, you know, more than one, you've got to do this for all of them. And it's not difficult. It's just sometimes, well, it can be time consuming. But if you have any issues with your arms, it's not always fun to sit and do. Because don't forget, I've got a dozen pages that also are going to have to be done. Well, I don't know if I'm going to do the pages because I'm going to see how they look once I spray them with my paint concoction. All right. So there are my wings for the cover. So I'm going to set those aside, and I'm going to take a sip of my cold coffee, and I'm going to move my inker to the side, and I'm going to get my baby wipe and clean up that gesso so I can make my next mess. Now, gosh, I was going to say a couple weeks ago, but it's probably been more like a couple of months ago. I was working on, I guess I was fooling around with different alcohol inks and spattering on paper and making background pieces for greeting cards. And then I would clean up in between colors with my baby wipes. And then I always sit them to the side and then, you know, wipe up the next mess. And I had a couple of baby wipes that I just really liked the color combination. And I thought, man, people would think I'm nuts if I save this. I mean, I usually save everything. So I didn't. And don't you know, last week I'm watching a gal on YouTube, and that's what she does. She saves them. She had a whole big stack of them, beautiful colors. And then she was rolling them and making beads, paper beads. You should have seen them. They were terrific. And you're probably wondering who that is, and I don't remember her name. I don't know if that'll come to me. All right, while my paper wings are dry, I'm just going to take my little emery board and take off some of that roughness where I didn't get my... See, because when I designed the shape in my Cameo, I was putting together different lines, and where they overlap, I didn't get a good match. even though I grouped it together, it just makes that little bump. And I think you'll find, as I have, your eye is probably more critical than anybody else's that might receive one of your books. And I also have some holes that didn't punch out. Take that out. Now all I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to lay them out, spritz them with my paint concoction, and then dry them. And what I've been doing is laying dry baby wipes underneath to try to capture some of that paint, because now I'm going to be wanting to make beads. It just never ends with me. Unfortunately, I'm always wanting to fiddle around and try something different. So like I said, I just have this little spray bottle. It's probably 2 or 4 ounce bottle. I'm not sure. And I do 1 part paint to like maybe 3 parts water. You don't want it too terribly running, but it has to be able to spray out of your bottle. And if you don't like the color, if it's too light, then you just add a little more paint and then you give it a shake and spray. And I love that it makes the paper warped. So if you don't like that, you probably are just going to maybe use plain paper and maybe just ink your edges. I don't know. Everybody's taste is different. And of course, you want to spray on as much as you like for a pattern that you think you would like. And it can be spotty. You can stripe it. You really could split. Like I have a work mat here that I'm working on top of, and nothing's supposed to really stick to it. That's pretty good. But you could really spray that, and you could smack down your paper and drag it across to make all different kinds of shapes or paint patterns. You could use the dilution sprays. This is Dilutions. This is Cherry Pie ink spray. But like I said, I've got bright green and blue, turquoise, the Cherry Pie. I've got an orange. I don't have anything, you know, soft. And those colors are really intense. And you probably could put those, a couple drops of those in a different spray bottle. But I have found that they kind of spray more like a splat. It seems more like a splat to me when it sprays. Now you could also punch bigger holes and put bigger rings in your book. You could do this with a heart shape. You could do this with just regular rectangle or square pages. You know, whatever you like. When I saw these angel wings, they were just so beautiful. Gi Kerr has a knack for putting lace and things together. Now I don't want to overlap these because I don't want to block the spray and make lines. So, and I have plenty of room to work here, but it's not a huge space. And once I flip them over, once they dry on this side and I flip them over and spray them on the other side, they should flatten right back out. But like I said, I like the puffy, warped kind of look. I love when the pages crackle. I'm just one weird chick. Now, I don't have a whole lot of that gold left, and I'm thinking if I'm just wondering how my gold acrylic paint would work to drip on some of these pages. Because the alcohol ink that I have, let's see, it's right here. So I don't have, I usually have at least one collision while I'm recording. This is Pinata Rich Gold by Jacquard alcohol ink. And it's beautiful, but it does bleed through, and then you have some shadowing on the other side. So in a book like this, you might not want that. See, like these other pages that I was doing for a mermaid journal, it's not so much a big deal if you see a little bit of a shadow. May not be a big deal for this either, but I think I'm going to test to see how it looks. I have an envelope here, and I think I'm just going to spray this envelope because the paper is about the same weight and type as my pages for my wings. So I'm just going to spray that a little bit. Now I'm going to get my heat gun, dry this side. And then depending on what you want, you you could. I have some gold, I have a gold ink pad somewhere. I could probably edge the pages in gold, which that might look nice too, rather than some of the little drips. Just trying to remember how she made the pocket. I'm wondering if I could use this envelope somehow to create a little pocket. I could see the pages of the I should have watched the video again. So now I'm just going to flip these all over. Just like you're going to salt and pepper a piece of steak for the grill. Just going to pop these on their other side and start to spritz them again. So both sides. Now I'm just spritzing and kind of leaving it, but you could take a brush to this, brush it around, a sponge. You could do a second coat. You could have a second bottle with a deeper pink. You could spatter it with black or white, gold, silver. I mean, if you were a craft person and you really enjoy this kind of thing and say you were getting married, you could really make these for, see now I just did what I didn't want to do. What I told you I didn't want to do. One wing laid over top of the other and made a line there. So I'm hoping that'll cover up. But these might be cool books to give to your, maybe your flower girl or the gals in your wedding. For somebody who is making their first Holy Communion. Or you might have someone in your family or a friend who's had a child that's passed on, or really anybody, a grandma. You could, put things that remind you of your grandmom in here and granddad and put some pictures. I mean, you could do a lot of different stuff with this. Now, do as I say, don't do as I do. Make sure you always clean off the nozzle of your If you can remember where you put your baby wipe. This one's still damp. But I made a whole bunch of this the first time. It's because I knew I had a couple projects I was wanting to do this to. All right, heat gun. Dry these up. Now I'm trying to think what I have in my stash of goodies, my ephemera, that I can add to these pages or my cover to really start to make this look like something. Right now it probably looks like somebody untapped some Pepto-Bismol and made a mess. I'm going to test that envelope and see how. So I've got my envelope here, which I've spattered with the pink. And then I've got a variety of goldish type colors. Now this is a, maybe I won't want to use the envelope. Maybe I better get another piece of paper. I have some beautiful, I'm going to have to put that phone in the drawer. I have some beautiful watercolor gold paper, paint. But then if any water would get on the book, that would like smear or go away, where once you put your acrylic paint on, it's going to be permanent. So this is a champagne gold, which is really kind of nice, by Deco Art. And that's not too deep of a gold color, so that will look nice. I kind of like the idea of the gold with the pink. I really like how those other pages turned out. This is also Deco Art, and this is called Vintage Brass, but it looks more like a true gold color to me. And this is Craft Twinkle. This is a glitter paint, so I don't think I'd want this because this may not dry flat. And then you'd have bumps where you're wanting to maybe write or journal or glue things down. So that's probably not a good idea. I also have a copper and a bronze, more of a bronzy color. All right, this here is a shimmering silver by Deco Art. I buy all this stuff when I see it on clearance. It doesn't look like it's got too much personality to me. So I think I'm not gonna do that. I keep a bunch of scrap paper over here to my right for just this kind of occasion. So I'm gonna spritz. Now this paper is a little heavier, but I think it'll give us an idea of how it will look in the wings. I want to make sure this is dry because this is paint And if it hits wet paint, I don't want it to bleed. I want it to get a nice little kind of drip happening. Now, if you spatter with other paint, you make it to like an inky consistency. Use a long, kind of a floppier brush, like so. And then just tap your brush and you'll get some spatters. And I want to use some clean water. So I have some clean water here in this jug. And again, do as I say, don't do as I do. But I'm just going to steal a little bit of this out of the cap, I think. Instead of putting a bunch of it on my, well, I might need more than that because I don't think that's going to, well, it does a little bit, but I think I'm going to have to squirt some out. You know, this is going to end up where I'm going to want to use that alcohol ink anyway. So I'm just putting some water to this to make it more of a inky consistency. Of course, I can use water because this is water-based. If I want to make my alcohol ink runnier, although this isn't really getting too runny. I should get my spritzer. So that's the champagne color, which that's not too bad. And then this is the gold, oh, they call it brass, vintage brass. Let's give this a test. This is much brighter. I don't know if you can tell that. Looks like you should be able to from my computer screen. Of course, like I said, my computer screen has paint drips all over it. As far as on the paper, it really doesn't. Oh, yeah, I guess it does make a difference. Huh. They both would be nice, I think. I would like it to be a little looser, so it's spattered a little more. I'm just trying to quickly see here. Yeah, clean up with soap and water. So I think I'm going to use the brighter. I'm going to use the vintage brass. I've got plenty of that out on my worksheet. And I'm going to use my little dried baby wipe, and I'm going to move these a little distance away. And my cover, although I probably want that spattered too. But let's, for right now, let's just see how this goes. Gosh, I can't believe this has been almost an hour already. I think I talked too much. And then I'm going to want to do both sides. So I'm just going to let that sit off to the side. And then if your paint starts to dry up a little bit, you just want to keep adding a little bit of water. And the thinner, I mean, you could get some water drips and then it would kind of like not have too much color in it. And the little blobs would kind of bleed. I don't particularly care for that look. So you want to just Try to keep your, oh my goodness, I keep hitting the, if you could see how I have this camera set up, you would like be laughing. I can't figure out how to get my zoom to work, so I've got it real low down over my workspace. And I just have it duct taped to a piece of wood. Now I'm getting a lot of strings as I flick, which I kind of like. I don't know if you can see those. But I think that's because, I should have wiped up that other gold. I think that's because my paint is on the thicker side. I think if it was a little juicier, a little more liquidy, I would have more of a little dot kind of splatters. But it's different than what I did before, because with the gold alcohol ink, it kind of blobs out. It's just in a little squeeze bottle, although I could have flicked that too, which of course I didn't think about. But then, no, I think I did one time, and then I put water, Dopey Me put water in it instead of alcohol, and it really like gunked up. Not good. And if you are going to do this, I used to use a fan brush because that's how I was originally taught, to use a fan brush to spatter. And she streams live on YouTube, and she does amazing things. And she uses a floppy brush like this, and you really do have a lot more control with this kind of a brush. So I've switched over. I've come to the other side, and I've been using this kind of a brush rather than the fan brush. I used to go outside and spatter my things because the fan brush, it gets it all over. And you also have to remember that it's blobs of paint, so it's going to take a little longer to dry than your normal acrylic paint would. I have wings everywhere. Oh yeah, it has a big blob there. That looks good. And you don't have to do metallic. You can do a darker pink or a rose color. Or say you were giving them to your bridesmaids and your colors were, I don't know, yellow and peach. Boy, wouldn't that be gross? Oh, I hope I didn't offend anybody. Somebody might have yellow and peach. But I'm just saying, you could match it to whatever your situation is or project. Make your colors match. Teal or turquoise would be pretty. All right, I'm going to do my covers. And then I've got to put out a little more paint. See which ones are dry. And in reality, this is probably, most of this will probably get covered up because I don't really know how I'm going to do the covers yet. And I should have put that strip of paper on too. Maybe I should do that. I hope I'm not driving you crazy with my, excuse me. Not knowing what I'm doing. Let me see. If I do, should have pulled out some. That's real silky. I don't think my paper's that silky. Oh, goodness. I just need it really, I think, for my cover. So I'm going to spritz these little little splotches, little scraps of paper that I have with the pink. And then I'm going to spatter them, and then I can cut them down and ink them. And use them as a reinforcement on my cover. And I've said this on other videos too, if you've watched any of my other videos. I don't know what I did for years without this heat gun, this heat tool. I use it all the time now. I guess I would get up and get a snack while I was waiting for my paint to dry. I should get rid of this here. This is a messy project. So if you're not into that, making a mess, this probably would not be for you. Doesn't bother me. I don't really like to, of course you could put gloves on. I don't really care to wear gloves and work with my hands, so I generally just get messy and then scrub it off later. Now I put out a lot of paint. So I'm just dragging some of it out and watering it down. I'm trying to avoid saying water because that's how I normally say it. People from Philly say water, not water. You're supposed to say water. Okay, let's spatter these so it matches our cover. I don't have to worry about doing the flip side of these. Now, some of our other wings should be dry. We did first off. Some of them have a little thicker. Of course, if it smears, really, how bad could that look? Now, one thing that Gi Kerr did is she did some fussy cutting. She had some pretty paper. Oh my, look at that spatter with roses, and fussy cut that out. And then it looked like she had inked them. But I was just watching another gal on YouTube, and I think she goes by Treasure Books. And she was doing something with a tea bag. Now, I didn't watch the whole thing, but she was making just pictures she had cut out of a magazine. And then I think she was just using Mod Podge. And she just would put the little tea bags, you know, because they get stained from making your tea. She dumped out the granules. I have a whole tub of them. And, of course, she suggested you put the little tea granules on your plants, which is a great idea. And then she was just putting that tea bag over top of the image and putting Mod Podge on it. So I didn't see how it finished out because I needed to get going. But I'm wondering how that would look if you had, say, if I have some roses on some scrapbook paper. Of course, you could gesso them. You could gesso them and then put the tea bag on top to kind of give it a real old vintagey kind of a look. I guess this is going to be a two-parter, kids. Let's see. We've been here an hour. Of course, it's not, I mean, I'm recording live, but I have it set as private so nobody can join me because I'm just nervous to do that. But once I upload it, you can fast forward, which is brilliant. Okay, now there it's getting a little more loose because I put a little too much water in my paint. Drag some more of the pigment out. I have a feeling I'm going to find gold dots for days in my work area or on myself. And you can put as much or as little as you like. Going forward, I may not spatter my other pages. I just want to make sure I get them all so I don't have to go back, put the book all together and turn a page, and I've got one page that doesn't match the others. Ugh, that would be not be fun. Have to drag up. See, here's what I missed. Drag everything out a second time. I can feel the spattering up my arm. Look like a decorated Easter egg. All right, I'm going to do the back side of my covers. Oop. And I think this is the last one. I just want to check. Make sure I got them all. I've got them all over my keyboard. Yeah. I think that's it. I think I got them all. Okay. So we're going to rinse that out. And then somewhere here I have a composition book that I putting my leftover paints in so I don't waste paint. Of course, you really need room for this, which I don't because I have wet wings sitting everywhere. Ah! So I'm just going to put my book out here, and I'm going to grab, usually I do it with a paintbrush. You can use your fingers, but today I'm just using an old gift card. And I'm just going to put some of this gold instead of wasting that paint. Just put that in my book. I'll let that dry. And then another day when I feel like doing something fun or interesting, I can open up my composition book, find a page, and do some art. That is not my idea. I've learned that from some girls that I've been watching on YouTube. So I'm going to sit that off to the side so it can dry. And then I need another baby wipe because I'm very messy. And I want to clean up my surface here. Actually, this looks kind of cute. I probably can use that for something. Our little tester sheet. This is not going to be totally clean, but I'll get most of it up. Okay, so now, as my pages dry, I think that might be as far as spattering. I don't think I'm going to ink the edges of my pages. At least not with the gold. I may decide to put some of the vintage photo. But right this second, I'm thinking I won't do that. So that's there's really thick blobs there that aren't dry yet. So I want to give those, maybe under the light, they'll dry a little more. I could hit it with the heat gun. That looks pretty cute. All right, now I didn't pull out any paper. I know I have some pinkish oh, this is an idea too, a doily or a piece of a doily. Might look cute on the wing. Maybe not. Really kind of like the idea of maybe some roses. Could stamp. Oh, I love this paper. I have no idea. I think I got it at Michael's. Double-sided paper. When I first started scrapbooking, I had no idea there was such a thing as double-sided paper. But I love hydrangeas anyway to begin with, and these are hydrangeas, and they had some in the paper pack that was just the hydrangea paper, which was pretty enough, but then there were sheets that had glitter. I'm all about the glitter, kids. Oh, I love the glitter. See, even on this sheet, you just see this little plain there, but then there's glitter on some of the petals. So, I mean, that will look pretty on a project like this. And here's some more roses. If I fussy cut those out and put those on, let's see what else I have here. Butterflies would be pretty, right? Maybe some butterflies. How about some butterflies cut out of this sparkly paper? That might be nice. Let's see, down here in my junk drawer, where I have all my punches, I have that punch, and then I have a second one. That has butterflies. So let's start with that. I'm going to cut out this big guy, punch him out. I even like the back because it's green. Green's my favorite. And then when you do this one, I like to, oh, you know what I should have done? I should have done this guy plain. There's some of both. The bigger guy plain, and then the smaller one out of the stuff that has the glitter. Those little ones are just so darling. And of course I will ink these. See how that looks. Playing camera. And then if I put a little glue on the back of this guy, for tweezers. How cute that is. Can you see that? I don't know if you can really see it. Put it on this. That would look cute, huh? With some roses. And then, of course, lace. So I can make a bunch of those. All right, let's gather up our pages. And they do have poof. That just adds character to me, to the book. Is that all of them? Oh, here's another one. Oh, I've got a couple on the floor and the ceiling fan. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, I definitely want to put some roses on at least 1 or 2 of these pages. And then I'll cut out a bunch of these little well, not a bunch, but I'll cut out some of these butterflies out of that hydrangea paper. And that, I think, will look real cute. And, of course, I've got gold somewhere on this that I didn't realize. I don't know that I'm going to use that one anyway. I kind of like this rose. And I have tons of scrap paper. Of course, I have that in a different spot. I'm just trying to pull out. Oh, look, here's some more of the hydrangea. And I really like the hydrangea idea, but I'm not sure on the wings. Maybe I shouldn't combine the two. Some smaller ones. That would be, I wouldn't be too hard to fussy cut. Oh, look, here's another piece of that. And there's another smaller piece. Let's just take a few minutes. I'm not going to keep you much longer, and then I'll do a second video. So let me. Now I love the Tim Holtz scissors, I really do, but they have a they have like a little tooth to it. They're not real small. I mean, not real smooth scissors. So you may not like that. Most of the time it's okay for me, but for something like this, I want my edges, I think, to be smooth. I haven't done this before. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to ink my edges. And then I'm going to get a tea bag and glue the tea bag on top. And see how that looks. And put that on one of my pages. I'm just going to maybe give that leaf a little more shape. And when you fussy cut, and sometimes what I like to do when I This is double-sided paper too, and this is pretty heavy. This is probably heavier than a 65-pound paperweight. But if I was going to decoupage this on something, I would peel this paper in half. Like if I do that now, I might like to do that. Like if you curl the edges of some of this paper, or you just like fiddle with it, or you try to roll it, you can get that to separate sometimes. See, like it's almost like a napkin. Because when I decoupage onto a project, depends on the project, I don't necessarily want this real thick paper. I just want the thin stuff on top. And this is probably not going to cooperate because I'm doing it on camera. It's not like tissue paper, though. I mean, it's still a decent weight paper once you peel it apart. But then you don't have that big, thick lump to attach to your project. And if you haven't fussy cut before, it's generally easier, or you're generally more successful if you hold your scissors still and just move your paper. Just wiggle your paper around. I'll leave that whole little bunch of flowers in there because I think once I ink it, you're really not gonna see. Now I could fussy cut all this stuff while I'm sitting and watching TV at night. Okay, so let me take just these two little pieces, and I'm going to take my cardboard here. I don't know if you can see this better on top of the cardboard. And then I have a tub, as I said. I had everybody saving me tea bags. Now this one's really dark. I'm not sure that I want a really dark one because some of the bags, oh my gosh, some of them still have the tea in it. Some of the bags are like green tea bags, so they're not as deep of a brown. But I'm just wondering if that would be too dark. To get the look that I'm going for. I'm just pulling that open. See, this one has a big stain there, so I know I wouldn't necessarily use that piece. But this is lighter on this side. I might just see how that looks. And then I'll probably cut one out and gesso it. Let's do that too. So at least you can see this part of it. Add that little bit of gesso. This one's so small. Probably was not the best thing to cut out because it's so small for you to see it. But I still have my gesso sitting here, so I'm going to put a little bit of gesso on this little guy. And you can water this down too, so it's not like full strength. Because see, look at that, it's not really letting you see that rose pattern. So I just dipped my brush into water to thin out that gesso. I'll let that dry. And then I've got my glue brushes sitting back here in water. So I'm going to pull one of those out. And instead of opening my big jug of Mod Podge, I'm going to use just this. Squirt some out and spread it around. I'm going to put some on the image. I try to be very good at recapping. And then I'm going to put my tea bag down. And then I'm going to put some more. Now you could also, if you have some really great napkins that would work with your project, or your, your wings, if you're doing wings, or your heart. I know I have a couple napkins that are like wedding themed. That might be nice to decoupage. You know what? I'm going to glue that right to that. That's not good. Right to that cardboard. If I work on this surface, it's not going to. I think this may not work because you may not be able to see the rose image as much as I want to see it. So let's dry these. And you have to be careful because this really gets hot. You don't want to burn your fingers. So keep that in mind when you're using your heat gun. And you could use a hair dryer, but the thing with the hair dryer is that it blows it all over. It doesn't get as hot as your heat gun. And it's more direct heat, with the hair dryer, blows it all over. But if you don't have a heat gun, hair dryer is a good option, second option. So when you think about our pages in the book are going to be like this. I might want to put a little rose down here like this. Oh, I want to ink it. So I did my gesso first. How are we on time? An hour, almost an hour and a half. Yeah, I think that's going to look nice. Especially, you know what, let's face it, I'm going to end up inking these edges. Because it goes with the whole book. The pages are looking just kind of white to me. A little too stark. So if I do that, and I put this little rosebud down here, now I'm not sure about this guy. Still a little damp. I might have to dig through my stash and find some better roses if I want to do this, because I think you need something a little brighter that really is going to stand out. This might work for a background piece though on the cover, or just a plain tea bag, and you could stamp on top of it. If I have some flower stamps to just make the background. All right, my sisters are starting to text. We usually text every evening. So my phone's going to start dinging in my computer. I might like that for the cover. I don't like it for on a page of the book. So let me just real quick do this. Get my glue brush out again. And instead of pulling out my big jug of Mod Podge, I'm just going to put some here. I don't want to get too much beyond the area where I'm going to stick it, because it will make your surface have like a different shine to it. I generally use the matte, but even still, and then let's real quick do this another wing, so we have like an open page. And then what I'll do is I'll cut out, I'll also cut some more flowers. I'll have some butterflies. I'll decide what kind of material and lace I'm going to use on the cover. And then I'll come back with a second video and show you what I have, and then we can assemble the front cover. I'll have more of a plan and then put the book together. But I think you get the general idea. When your book is open, that's how it would look. And then you could stamp, you know, really that doesn't really look bad. Okay, so I think that's it for this impromptu angel wing journal project. And I hope you enjoy it, or find something that maybe you didn't know before, or learned, or be encouraged, or excited to maybe try the project yourself. If you've gotten anything out of the video and enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Sure would like to chat with you. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.